Hello genealogists, this is Craig and this is Just Genealogy, and today I'm going to provide a couple of books for a discount. A 40% discount, in fact. So I've always had an interest in captive narratives and whether they stayed, whether they came back home, what their integration into society was like, would they have rather have stayed, all those kinds of things. And so we have several books that relate to captive narratives, especially those that relate to the French and Indian War. But there are some from a later period. Basically, as the folk move west, there would be captives. So we have two books that we're going to put up for a discount today, and they are True Stories of New England Captives Carried to Canada and New England Captives Carried to Canada. One is by C. Alice Baker, and it was the first one that was published. It was published in 1896, 1897 time frame, and it recounts the details of the Indian attacks at Wells and York, Maine, Dover, New Hampshire, and Hatfield, Haverhill, and Deerfield, Massachusetts. We saw a lot of these through the Deerfield Museum. It focuses on a few of the participants with extensive genealogical and biographical data. The families treated are Baker, Nims, Otis, Plaisted, Rishworth, Rising, Sayward, Sheldon, Silver, Stockwell, Stebbins, Wheelwright, and Williams. And the captives discussed in detail here are only treated briefly in comparison to the volume that I'm going to talk about next. And that is Emma Lewis Coleman's New England Captives Carried to Canada between 1677 and 1760 during the French and Indian Wars. And this actually is a 2-volume set. And basically it was done in response to C. Alice Baker's book. So following the initial publication of True Stories, Ms. Baker and Emma Lewis Coleman continued to research this topic, scouring libraries and archives of New England and Canada for information. Following the death of Mrs. Baker, Ms. Coleman prepared the present volumes using all the data the two of them had accumulated over several decades. These volumes name all the captives they were able to discover and provide biographical data on each. But the sketches on those people who have been covered in Baker's original volume are somewhat abbreviated in comparison to those that were not covered in the first compilation. So this 2-volume set provides an extensive picture of the Indian attacks on New England communities over about an 80-year period. And in terms of identifying their captives, it is probably the most definitive work ever published. Sources are cited in the footnotes, and an appendix identifies various people and places mentioned in the text. And this one was done in 1926. And both these have been, of course, reprinted by Heritage Books. Now, there are other books in the Heritage Books, would you want a collection, shall we call it? That I will bring to your attention just to let you know that we also have these, although they're not currently available for a discount. There's the narrative in captivity of Mrs. Johnson, together with a narrative of James Johnson, Indian captives of Charlestown, New Hampshire. There's the narrative of the captivity of Nehemiah Howe. There are captives and kins in the Ohio country. Now, this isn't a book that we published, but it's an excellent book done by Alan Fitzpatrick. There also is In Search of Morgan Station, The Last Indian Raid in Kentucky. There is Indian Captives' Life in the Wigwam. There is Rebecca Kellogg Ashley, who is a New England captive from Deerfield, and that's pretty much her life story. Then there are the dangers and sufferings of Robert Eastburn and his deliverance from Indian captivity. Then there's the Reverend John Williams, captive from the Indians from 1703 to 1706, so a little earlier. Then there are a book by Alan Fitzpatrick called The White Indians, and it sells very well. These are whites captive by Ohio Indians for the most part in Northwest Territory, and their stories. And then there also is information in a book that I've talked about before, the Draper manuscript, War Pioneers Extracts from the Boone Papers, volumes 4C to 13C of the Draper manuscripts. So all of these books deal with captives. They're not all available for a discount at this point in time, just the True Stories of New England Captives Carried to Canada by Baker, and then the follow-on volumes by Emma Lewis Coleman. So I guess I forgot to tell you what the discount code was, and that discount code will be Captives40. So this has been Craig, this has been Just Genealogy, and another couple of books available for a discount. What more can I say? Except that you should subscribe if you haven't done already. You should hit that bell icon so you're notified when we have another video available. They're available at noon every day, and I haven't missed a day in 160 days. I don't intend to miss any days. I'm feeling a lot better today and a lot chipper than I have for the past week. But anyway, that's beside the point. Please tell your friends. Our numbers are growing. Let me know what you want me to talk about. Let me know what book you want to have available at a discount. Because that's what I do, and that's what I love doing. So again, this is Craig with Just Genealogy, and I haven't said it in a while, where we're converting people doing genealogy into genealogists. Y'all have a great day.